is that the conventional advice is you kind of have to ignore all the naysayers or people that are critical of your ideas. But a lot of times people are critical for good reason.
Yeah. I say listen to the naysayers.
So maybe expand on a little bit. What is a founder to do with that perspective?
Yeah, I think the mistake you can make is taking advice from uncalibrated people who don't, who haven't done the thing themselves. Like if I ask, somebody who's in the suburb of, Tulsa who works, as an accountant at a tool and die shop, should I start Applied Intuition? They're not the right person to ask. But if you ask a partner at, first round and they're like, this is not a good idea, then that's an issue. Now, the reality is the partner at first round or wherever is not going to tell you this is not a good idea because they also don't know. All they can say is I'm going to invest or I'm not going to invest. But there's signal there. If you get 5, 8, 10 funds that say, we're going to sit this one out, for whatever reason, you should think about that. I think a lot of founders just don't think about it. Now, if you get 3 people to invest and, 25 to say no, you got 3 people to invest. That's fine. But I would be really listening to advice. I mean, one of our strengths as a company, talk about writing books, we take feedback is a big part, not only giving and taking feedback, but as a company in our strategy. I mean, literally right before this podcast, all hands to the whole company. And we talk about very openly, like, these are the faults in the company. These are weaknesses in the company. We need to address these. I talk about it. The leads talk about it. And you're like, if you sat in those companies, we had new employees starting all the time. And they're just like, there's doom and gloom there. And it's like, yeah, because we have to have a clear eye because success is a lagging indicator. The fundraise, we did this $15 billion round and we're a profitable company. We're on the way to, one day being a public company. Because like, oh, you've already made it. It's like, no, that's right when you start, failing.
And you have to grow forever. That's your job.
And you have to like that. And you have to like that, right? You have to like that. But the way that you grow forever is you take feedback and you listen. And so I think probably the biggest blind spot or one of the biggest blind spots is the founder themselves, the CEO is not actually the right person to do that thing. And no one's going to say that. No one's going to say, at YC, we would write feedback letters for everyone who gets rejected, right? Literally emails is like, this is the issue that we saw. So if you're going to interview, I don't know if they still do it. I've been gone 8, 9 years at this point, but at the time we did it for everybody. Everyone you interviewed, you'd write an email, little email that'd say, these are the reasons we don't like, except when it was, we don't like you. We thought you were like, it was like a phenomenal idea. A great market. It's going to explode. It's just you. It's just you. Literally, if you can find somebody else to do this, we're going to fund this immediately.
We'd be delighted.
We'd be delighted. Yeah. So I think if you're a founder, then you're getting this, let's say, negative feedback or even getting positive feedback. It's like, how do you interpret that? I've always said a founder is not made when you decide to start a company or even when you raise money. Your founder is made when you get feedback and do you interpret it correctly about the product and the market or just about you, about everything. So, you could have 15 people in a room and it's like some, AI agentic framework. And you could have one person giving feedback who's a developer, who's maybe you. So all 10 people are going to interpret that feedback differently, extremely differently. And so like, how do you know that you're actually interpreting it the right way? And that's somehow, it's like, it's not only that you start a company, it's like you have to also be right. And if we were like playing basketball, it's like I threw in more times when I threw the leather ball through the hoop, it went in. And you threw it less, and therefore I'm a better basketball player because how do you do that when you're a founder? And so I think this feedback concept becomes really, really important because you have to somehow discount some people's feedback and you have to over-index on some people's feedback. And then all this stuff that they don't know because they've only seen a little slice. It's like this analysis interpretation is like the true heart of being a founder in that way, especially in the early days. Those roles change as you grow. Feedback is always important, but your interpretation of market signals.
Is your take that you're context loading in your brain through your whole life before you start this company, and either you have really good instincts for taking all this data, or you don't, or there's heuristics and shortcuts and other ways to manage that?
I think there's this old line. Warren Buffett just stepped down from his earlier this year from his role at Berkshire, and There's a line from one of his family members as if Warren Buffett had gone into hot dogs, he would have been the king of hot dogs. I think there's some people who are just good at this thing. There's another aspect to it, there is luck, but there's some ability that the great founders master that luck. Like they figure out how to like just keep getting, lucky again and again. And so like, what do you call that? I don't know what you call it, but it certainly exists. Some people will just say, oh, that's just nature. They just have an instinct. I think that's true. I think you can practice at it. But you do company, you do startups for 10 years in a row. Let's say your life mission is I'm going to be a founder. Just like a craftsman, if you spend a long time on it, you will just get better at it. Now, the question is, there's some craftsmen who are already at the LeBron James level and they're going to get to the next level. And there's some people who are like me and they're never going to get to LeBron James, no matter how much time you spend on trying to be a better founder, being a better basketball player, being whatever.